going to do today is basically start with the first process, which is re-engineering your approach. So we're going to draft up your dream. What is it that you want to do? And we're going to write it out. And so I'm going to offer you some questions to help you. I'm not going to say, here's a blank sheet and write it down. What does that do to you? Even scarier, right? Because you're not even sure. But I have some questions that'll help prompt you. And what I want you to do is just write down the answers to the questions. Don't worry about writing the question down and this is my answer. Just write down the answers, okay? Sure. And at the end of that, we'll just do a recap. All right. Are you ready? So the first question is what is your typical day at your dream job like? Where is your dream job located? Are you working out of an office? Are you working out of your home? Where do you live? What city is it? Do you get to travel? If so, how often and where? Do you travel domestically or do you travel internationally? Do you work as a part of a team or do you work solo? If you're working as part of a team, are you the team leader or a team member? If you're working with a team, like most of us do in some capacity, in some way, we're working with other people, even if it's distance, or what is that like? What are your partnerships like? What is your team like? What are your coworkers like? What's the vibe? What's the sense? Is it jovial? Is it serious? Is it like walking into a library when you guys are together? Like, what is the environment like? What is it that you want to see in your future? What motivates you to do your job every single day? What motivates you to come in and do your best every day? What time does your day start? And what time do you typically end? When you first wake up in the morning and you're going to your job, this is your dream job, what are your first thoughts about your job? All right, here it comes. It's the big money question. How much do you make at your dream job? How much money do you need to make? Now, typically I like to say, give it a range, but how much are you bringing in? And I have some clients who have said, well, I want to make $1 million, Suzanne. I want to make $1 million. And, you know, when I have a masseuse talking to me about making $1 million, they better have $1 million clients that are willing to pay $1 million to have someone on staff. It's not the norm. So I really want you to be honest about your dream job, but really be real. What is the range? What do you need to make in this position? Because I can be honest with you from my own personal perspective. Most people to be in their dream job will take less money to have the things that they want and the qualities and the types of people and the environment than they would to take a number. But you can have it all. I absolutely believe you can have it all. But be honest with yourself about that range. What are the benefits like? Do you have benefits? And if so, what are they? Do you get vacation? If so, how many days? What kind of stress level do you have in this dream job? What does that look like? In this role, do you attend public functions on behalf of yourself or the organization? If so, what would those be? What is your role within the organization? Do you have a title? If so, what is the first title that comes to your mind? What personally drives you to do your best? What are your immediate career goals? And do you have dates associated with them? If so, write them down. What time frame do you see this dream job occurring? Is it yesterday, tomorrow? Is it 5 years from now? Is it 2 years from now? And if so, do you know the steps that you need to take to get to this dream job? You've been in this job search for now coming up to close to a year. And you're just kind of embarking on it it's been about 4 months. So have you ever taken time to do something like this?
No.
Jeff?
Something like this. Yeah.
Something. Mike, did you learn something about what it is that you're looking for based on how you answered the questions?
Yes.
What was the thing that surprised you the most about what you wrote down?
No, it's just a question, actually, when you asked me what drives you. And I sat there and I'm like, should I just skip this question? Or, I mean, because I couldn't, it took me a while to come up with something.
So you didn't know what motivates you, what drives you. And did it surprise you that it took you longer to come up with the answer? Or did it surprise you what your answer was?
No, it frustrated me that I didn't know.
And one of the main reasons why a company might ask a question like that is investment. It's a much higher number of an investment for a company to bring an employee on, to bring them and indoctrinate them into their culture. And that investment, they want some ROI on it. So they want a return on their investment. And if your answer to their 5-year goal is not what they're looking for, well, then they just saved themselves some money now, wouldn't they? Yeah. So it's really about saving you time, effort, energy, and, and them as well. And right now they're in the driver's seat. What I hope that you'll feel at the end of this process is that you're really more of a driver than you've been, and that you really are in more control than you think. But because the process has been somewhat demoralizing and humbling, it's really taking you it's taking you off course. What this process really is, it's about getting back on course. What is inside of you and what is it that you really are wanting? And that's why I ask you to write with go with your intuition, the first answer. So Jeff, what did you learn that surprised you?
Just being more focused on what I really want. You say dream job, instead of approaching it as a career and looking, it's more of a dream.
Yeah.
And I still have a hard time focusing, thinking it as a dream, honestly.
Right.
A dream job.
Right.
I feel like I'm proficient at what I've done and what I do.
So would you maybe have a stable job that you go after and maybe a dream job? That's like if you really let yourself take the reins off and money's not an issue and you really just go for what it is you want. Do you think that those would be different things? Okay, so what I would suggest is that you do two. And one is, the stable, practical, the way that makes you feel safe and comfortable and confident. And the other, which is really what you want to do. What I would suggest that you do is take these answers and go home and write a 1 to 2 page essay and basically flesh it out. Give it all the juicy details. Really just dive into it. I want you to be able to viscerally feel this job, because feeling is really what drives how you're feeling, right? It makes sense. But feeling is what's going to change that frustration. And that's the first thing that we need to adjust with you both, is how you're approaching the job, and what response you're getting is bringing you down, and we need to bring you back up. Because when you're back up, you feel like you got more control. And when you have more control and you know where you're going, you can get there faster, number one. And number two, you give more clear and specific answers when you're going to be called on to do so. So you're not going to be fumbling for them. Does this make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. The first step to any job process is to have clarity. If you don't have clarity, you're going to meander. Have you two been feeling like you've meandered through this job process?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So clarity is the answer to meandering. We must have direction. So if you were going to take a trip across the country, you would have directions, right? You would know where the next gas station is, where you're going to stop. What we just have created is the answer to that. We know the parameters of your dream job. And so now you have direction. That means that anything that is slightly similar to this, you go ahead and apply for. Does that make sense? You don't look at the job qualifiers, like, am I qualified? No. If it's aligned with your dream job, you apply. And you usually apply for something that's a little bit above where you want to go. In my experience, I found that to be good. In number one, putting yourself out there, and number two, hey, Life is a game. You got to roll the dice. You got to take some gambles. It's no risk for you, especially the way that you guys have been doing your job search on those search engines, to go ahead and gamble with your resume, especially when we get to how we're going to be modifying your resume. So you must have clear direction. So you're going to take this and put it into a 1 to 2 page. You're going to put in as much detail as possible to your dream job. Okay? Flush it out. This is going to go into your file, and the file is going to be called your dream job file. You can call it dream job, the dreams, the destination, whatever, the target, whatever you want to call your file. This is going to be the first entry into it. You're going to create a file. You're going to basically physically manifest this dream job, and this is the first thing that's going to go in it. Make sense? Any questions?
When I've applied for jobs online, I definitely don't. I look at the qualifications and go, oh, I've never done that, or I've never done that, or I've never done that, as opposed to just, like you said, just apply. Going
for it.
Yeah.
Does it feel more fun to go for it?
I say yeah, because, if, you can't.
You got nothing to lose.
Well, you can't score if you don't shoot.
It's true. You must take risk in this job. You've got to be able to distinguish yourself from others. They are putting those qualifications on there for a couple reasons. Yes, they want their candidates to have them, but they're also using that as weeding people out. And they're weeding people out not just for qualifications, but for confidence. So you got to be bold and just go for what it is that you want, especially if it's aligned to your dream job.